Hey guys, it's me, Kimberly Clark. It is November 10th, 2016 at around 1:40 in the morning. It is almost 24 hours since Donald Trump became president-elect of the United States. I am in New York City right now, and I just wanted to sit down and talk to you guys a little bit. I think that there are a lot of people that are really afraid right now, and there are a lot of people that are concerned for what is happening in our country. I kind of wanted to just share some positive thoughts and to kind of talk to you guys about some helpful ways of framing what's happened and some ways to move forward and think about it and like move forward now. Where do we go from here? You know, even if you were pro Trump, now, as he said in his victory speech last night, that we have a lot of work to do. And he and Hillary both talked about healing this divide between the very intensely divided ideologies in our country right now. And I agree with all of those sentiments. But I think it's a little tricky to practically understand how to do that. But I think I've thought of a couple helpful things that might help you understand how to do something like that and kind of help think about this whole situation. I guess first off, I just have to say that whatever rage and fear you're experiencing is completely valid. I I'm a gay guy, and so I'm kind of, me and my boyfriend are gonna get married this year because it's a very real possibility that gay marriage will not be legal anymore next year. Not to mention the people who basically been told that they were disposable. There are legitimate fears if you are an illegal immigrant, if you're from an immigrant family, if you're a person of color, if you're trans or gender nonconforming, if you're a woman that wants to have an abortion and total control over her body. All of these identities have kind of become targets for hatred. After the Brexit vote in the UK, which a lot of international sources and people here in America are comparing this election to, there was an increase in hate crimes, violence against outsiders in the UK, Muslims in particular, people of color. And it's very likely that we're going to see that happening here. I mean, we already are. There have already been reports of people harassing people in the street or assaulting them, saying things like, "We're in Trump's America now." And you know, that's real. Those things are real. And I don't think this message is really for those people that are legitimately afraid of what rights of theirs are being infringed upon and how they're going to survive. This video is kind of for everybody else, for people that feel like this was a victorious election, that they won, that the right side won, that the best for America has been chosen, and that we're going to move forward with that. And also for the people who feel defeated, that feel like we've stepped backward, but are also coming from a place of privilege of varying degrees, which allows you to kind of not have to deal with the practical real fears of the ramifications of this election, but can support those whose lives are deeply affected. When I was 13 years old, I came out as gay. I told my parents that I was gay the day before 8th grade started. I just knew that I was, and I had known for a very long time, and I didn't tell my parents, not because they were I was worried they would not accept me. They were very, very accepting of me, but I was just scared. And my cousin actually came out before me, and so I saw how accepting my mom was, like, directly of a family member, and I felt the confidence to tell them, and I did, and I was met with immediate love and acceptance. And since then, I've gone to be a public speaker on gay issues and gender rights issues with my mom. She's an amazing woman. Both my parents are. They're phenomenal. They've done tons of advocacy and activism for all kinds of causes, not only gay rights, but civil rights, social justice of all kinds. Anyway, I came from this insanely fortunate upbringing. And there was this moment during the march, the 2000, I think it was called the Millennium March on Washington. It was in 2000. It was in Washington. I went with my mom. And it was a gay rights march. And I remember hearing speakers, like teenagers like me, I was like 16, like hearing teenagers talk about the hardships that they go through and the physical assault that they've undergone, the fact that they've been kicked out of their homes, that they don't have any place to live or any support system. And I just could not help but realize that my life was extremely blessed. Like, I was so privileged. I didn't have any of those problems. I had a loving family. I felt very safe at home. I wasn't homeless. I wasn't discarded by my family and my friends. I definitely struggled because of it in high school for various reasons, but I was harassed and things like that, but I was never physically assaulted. And because of all those things, I've just considered myself extremely lucky. And at that march in 2000, I just felt extremely moved to do something, to stand up for the people who were not privileged, who did not have this privilege of safety, of acceptance. And I just couldn't accept a world where I would be afforded those benefits, but someone else in the same position as me wouldn't. Anyway, so that kind of was what motivated me to start my activist career. That was 16 years ago. I guess I'm saying that I think that is what we should do as people of privilege in this situation. There are tons of people here who are going to have their lives immediately affected by the results of this election. And if you are someone who has the privilege of potentially not being deported or interned or sent to jail or fined or marginalized in many, many ways. If you're a white liberal, if you're cisgender, if you're a person of means, if you have wealth, you have a privilege, and you have, I think, a responsibility to stand up for those that do not have that. I think there's so much stigma with the word privilege. I've been using it a lot in this video already. I think people think of privilege as something that means that you have to feel guilty and feel bad about what you have, that you have this thing that other people don't, and that means that you're a bad person or you're not worthy of it or it's not fair. Well, on some level, of course, all of that is true and you naturally feel those things, but privilege also is an opportunity. It's something that can be used. It's not something that you just have to feel bad about. It's something that you can actually take advantage of. And frankly, it's the thing that is allowed for so much social change to happen. If there were not advocates for people that were less fortunate, then you wouldn't have had abolition, you wouldn't have had suffrage, you wouldn't have had the gay rights movement at all. None of these groups did it alone. It takes people from all walks of life and all sides of different situations to really make change happen. If you dismiss someone that you disagree with, whether they're liberal, whether they're conservative, whether they voted for Trump, whether they didn't, if you dismiss them as just plain wrong, an idiot, ignorant about the real situation, whether that situation is race related or economically related or family related, family issues, sexual orientation, etc., gender, whatever it is, the other side of your position, if you just dismiss that person and you come to the argument just being like, so you're wrong, so let's talk about it. Like, that's not a way to enter into a conversation with someone. It's like what Jacob Tobiah and David Sierra talked about at the end of my Trans Day of Action interview video, where the key is really open-ended questions. And I really feel like that strategy applies to everyone, including Black people, people of color, Muslims, Muslim Americans, gay people, transgender people, anyone in America. Everyone really needs to be approached with the open-ended question. Instead of asking, why did you vote this way? Why did you vote for this person who is so evil, who's so wrong, who I can't stand? That's not really going to get anywhere. But if you instead say, what do you need? What are you feeling? How are you, what's going on? If you approach it that way, then people will start to have conversations with you. They'll start to express themselves. I think there's been just like a really intense shutdown of that type of communication. I guess what I'm saying is that if you have the ability to open those lines of communication, then you should take it. If you have relatives that, don't agree with your point of view or don't have the same point of view as you, engage with them. You will probably learn something from them. They'll learn something from you if you approach the conversation with respect and with interest, with actual exploration to try to figure out what's going on. I think there is a risk to say that we're done. I was thinking today that, if Hillary Clinton had won, I would be worried that a lot of liberals would, think, oh, well, we did it. We're done. We don't have to really pay attention for the next 8 years. Which, potentially a lot of Trump supporters might be feeling right now. They might think, great, we've done it. We're done. We don't really have to worry about it now anymore. But I think either one of those, regardless of what side you're on, that's a really dangerous attitude because, oh my God, there's so much more to be done. We have to do so much. We're so divided. Even if you supported Hillary Clinton and she won, all of those Trump supporters wouldn't go away. They're still there. They would still be there. Just in the same way that, since Trump won, all of the Hillary supporters, they're not gone. They're out protesting in the streets of America right now. They're out on the streets. I think it's just better for us to get used to each other and just figure out the shit that we do agree with and figure out the things that we disagree on, how to find a compromise so that we can all kind of be happy and deal with it. I think, though, there are some very clear behaviors that are explicitly wrong that everyone agrees on. Things like physical assault and hate speech, harassment. I think a lot of liberals might think that all Trump supporters are just totally crass and would, yell things or would harass people and sexually assault women and be racist and perpetuate hate crimes against people of color, etc. And we might see that, like I said, since after Brexit we saw there was an increase in hate crimes, and we might see that. I mean, we probably will see that. But know that behavior is not the norm, and also that everyone on all sides needs to understand the origins of that behavior and stop it in its tracks. Which brings me to this issue of systemic problems. Systemic meaning system, like bigger than you, the system, not just personal experience, systemic experience. There's a systemic problem of racism and sexism in our country. There are not bad people that are bad racist people and bad sexist people. I mean, of course there are bigots all over the country, all over the world. But the problem of racism and sexism and homophobia and all kinds of bigotry is systemic. It is much deeper. It is bigger than the individual. So blaming and alienating, despising, conflicting with individuals and not addressing the deeper systemic problem is really dangerous. And if you're new to my channel, I encourage you to subscribe because I have a series on this channel called Listen Up, where I am addressing those systemic problems. I already made a video about gender. I will be posting this video in tandem with my second video in my series about consumerism. I think that all of these issues are related to what happened yesterday, and I think that it is beneficial for anyone to interrogate those issues more because we all live in the same society that is affected by them, by consumerism, by gender. The more that we can understand the depths of those issues, the more we can understand where the problems are emerging and how to remedy them. So at the end of the election night, this was the map of the Electoral College, and my friend Emily was with me, and she's from Texas, and I live in New Orleans now, which is right in the middle of that big red area. As you may have guessed from this video, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm a drag queen. I'm a gay guy. I definitely have endorsed Hillary many times on this channel, to many of my viewers' chagrin. And, you know, we were looking at that map, and she looked at the map, and she said, you know, that's a really ugly map. And I looked at the map, and I was like, yeah, it's a really ugly map. Not because, oh, it's so bad that the red states went red and the blue states in the country. No. It's an ugly map because it's a map, which is something that is a two-dimensional representation of something else that's in another concept, something else, data, whether it's land or population or something, other information that is translated and simplified into this understandable format. And the sheer act of that translation, that simplification, means that you eliminate so much data because you have to be selective about what information you're going to present. Not everyone in this red chunk is racist, is homophobic, is an idiot, is ignorant, or is selfish, or doesn't care about anyone other than themselves. There's so much diversity in there. And I mean, we're seeing that in a generational way very, very clearly. If you look at election maps of 18 to 25-year-olds, most of the red states would have gone blue. That is a diversity in the population right there. You have a generation of people who would have voted one way and another generation that would have voted differently living in the same place. But you don't see that with this two-color, very binary, red or blue, black or white map, you know? And I wish we could just look past that map and, you know, try to see ways that we can connect to each other than the color of our state and how we feel about it. So I guess I'm just interested in making a purple map. I'm just interested in making a better map. Having us, you know, map out where to go together. And, you know, I'm not asking everyone to do that. I'm not asking anyone to put themselves in harm's way. I'm not asking anyone who does not feel safe or is marginalized or is in danger to put themselves out there. I'm asking all of those of us who have the resources and the privilege and the power to do something about this, to bridge that gap, to step out of our comfort zones and interact with the people on the other side and figure out what happened, figure out why we disagreed so much. I think that if you have the ability to do that, then you have to do that. I think it's like the only way that we're going to move forward. I haven't decided if I'm going to leave the comments section on this video open or close them. I would love for people to be able to engage in a conversation about what's happening, but I really don't want the conversation to be about exactly what I've described, about people telling each other they're wrong, about people spouting facts and saying that our facts are right and your facts are not right, and having this deep argument about other people and about how other people feel and how other people think. But I would like to open the comments up just to have you all share your personal experiences. If you're a person in America who feels afraid for your life because of the results of this election, please share your story so people that, you know, don't think that that's an experience, that's a reality, that aren't worried about that as much, can hear what this election is what the results of this election have made you feel. Likewise, if you're someone that is happy that Trump's been elected, share your experience, share your thoughts on why. What about your personal experience makes you feel like that this is the best path for our country? And how do you respond to the other stories that are being shared? You know, I mean, I'd really just like us to try to listen a little bit to each other instead of try to convince someone else that we're right. If we just start like telling our stories and sharing and speaking up about our beliefs, even if that's within our own families, especially if that's within our own families, then we're going to have a much more interesting conversation than the one that we've seen throughout this election, which has been pretty basic, you know? I don't know if there's anything else I have to say. I'm not moving to Canada. or anything. I'm not gonna do that. And this is still my country, it's still my home, and we're all in this together. I mean, everyone. Even the people that you disagree with, we're all here. We need each other. We have to figure out how to work together. I'm not saying we have to do it now. I'm not saying everybody has to do it. I'm just saying that if you got the guts and the means, you guys, let's do it. Let's bridge that gap. Let's talk to each other. Let's figure it out. Cool. Okay, I love you guys, and please be safe, and please support each other, and please think and pay attention. I'm Kimberly Clark. Bye.